I think that if you hustle for a reason for a season.
There are people who are listening today who just don't feel like writing that proposal, don't feel like connecting with that potential customer. But it's not about how you feel, it's about
Most businesses close because the owner gives up, not because they actually.
welcome back to the Exceptional Sales Letter podcast. And it is absolutely my great pleasure to have a person who is a man after my own heart. Although he lives on the other side of the world, he's been in sales and entrepreneurship for many years, and he's just actually revealed to me that he's been a podcaster for 10 years. 10 years. Mate, you must have been one of the early starters. Let me welcome to the podcast Mr. DJ Carroll, coming in all the way from Louisville. That's right, is it?
Louisville.
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 Louisville,
Kentucky.
Kentucky, man. I
DJ,
appreciate.
welcome, mate.
Yeah, man. I appreciate you having me on, man. Look forward to spending a bit of time with you and pouring into your community.
Love it. It was interesting. We were talking just before we press record, and you were sharing with me how you've been a podcast for 10 years. You lost the first two seasons of your podcast because of the ownership of the network. And I'm thinking to myself, man, that's just like Michael Jackson or Taylor Swift losing all their content. But you've continued. You're currently the CEO of Carroll Media Group, but I also noticed this is business number seven. So do we say that you're a serial entrepreneur?
I think at this point it's pretty safe to say that, man.
Yes. And you're also an author. And the latest book, just off your left shoulder there, is The Hunter Head Game, which we'll no doubt talk about. Now, which number is this in terms of books?
This is book number two. The first book, which is very particular to your audience, I wrote called Phenomenal Phone Calls. And it was an internal training script that I created for my sales teams, my sales guys, as well as people that I was coaching. And I said, let's take this external, let's polish it up, add lots of pictures because I'm dyslexic, and so it's 44 pages, and it's my gritty guide to closing big money deals over the phone. So I absolutely love that book. I think that it has helped a ton of people. I still get messages to this day. People buy it on Audible, they buy it online.
Yeah.
It's a free plus shipping offer now, so it's just a lead magnet for me. But that was the first one, and then the Hunter Head Game I've been working on for about 10 years. I've been working on the manuscript, and oddly enough, I used AI to edit the book, which was a fun thing. And so yeah, man, I'm an author and a speaker and a coach and a husband and a dad, and entrepreneur, lots of things, man. I don't let people put me in boxes.
Love it, love it. And I noticed through your media profile or your media kit, you've done a number of keynotes. You get access to what is it? Over 2 million people a year,
Yeah, we
typically.
reach we reach about 2 million people a year across my online audiences through the podcast, through Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn,
Yeah.
all of that stuff, and then on stage presentations. I think this year I did, gosh, I don't know, probably 20 speeches. With I think my biggest audience was around 350 people. So, I just for me, man, it's a little bit of my origin story. Like my senior year of high school, I had 8 football scholarship offers, and I had started mowing grass, and I was making about 4 grand a month. My senior year of high school mowing grass, and I was actually co-oping for myself. So like all the other senior kids, like the second half of my senior year, they would like sign out at lunch and they would go to the factories or they would go to the utility
Mm.
company or an office. I was signing both sides of the book because I was signing out and going and mowing mowing yards. And so I didn't come from much. My mom stayed home and raised me and my brother. My dad never made more than $20 an hour in his life, and um, he worked his ass off to provide for us. But I always knew that I wanted more, and so by the end of my senior year, I was staring down the barrel of these scholarships and being a chemical engineer and going the traditional path of schooling and making everybody happy in my family. And
Yeah.
I decided to bet on myself, man, and very much to the dismay of my chemistry teacher, as you can imagine, and my guidance counselor. They're like, "So, what? Are you just going to mow grass for the rest of your life?"
Yeah.
And I said, "No, I'm gonna be a business owner." And that was back in '07. That was way before like the word entrepreneur became cool. And so, for me, man, it's just like I want to give back to the entrepreneur community. And that's what my Coach Carroll brand does. Is we make content to try to help what I call young entrepreneurs.
Yeah,
That could be a 60-year-old guy that's just starting his business, or a 19-year-old kid like me that's
yeah.
trying to get his business off the ground. So that's
So
that's the body of my work.
I love that. And over the course of I guess since that time, you've been involved in seven businesses and obviously now author of two books, 10 years in terms of podcasting. Just talk a little bit about, because I love the origin story and a little bit about the mindset and I guess the experience you went through when you've got scholarships, you've got people probably in your immediate family that is probably wanting the best for you. How hard was that to go through? And looking back, what was one of the key lessons you learned from that process that's hold you in good stead?
Yeah, man. Always have to collect myself before I tell this story. It's I remember the night I'm sitting at the dinner table with my mom, and my dad, um, and they were divorced at the time, and we had kind of come together for a family dinner, and
Yeah,
they said, DJ, what are you gonna do? And I still remember telling them like I think I'm gonna like just keep going with my business. And I just remember hearing my dad like the fork hitting his plate, man. It's like one of those things when it happens, it just burns into your memory and like you just hear
yeah,
that sound for the rest of your life. Um, and at that moment, it was so weird because I was excited for myself, right? Because I believed that I could go make something of this. I didn't know what,
mm,
um, but I felt like I was letting my parents down. And oftentimes I hear that people have a similar story. There's always this inflection point for people that decide to kind of blaze their own trail. And oftentimes, like that's why I love salespeople, because I think being in sales is a form of entrepreneurship. You're responsible for your own destiny. And for me, that night, I felt like I let my parents down, Daniel. Honestly, I really do. And but I also learned the lesson that you have to believe in yourself, especially when no one else does.
yeah,
No one ever dreamed that I would go on and grow that lawn care business from a little $300 startup with a Walmart weed eater and push mower to a $3 million business that I would later exit. Right. Um, I didn't even know that that was on the roadmap. Right. And so what I did know though is that the worst case scenario often really isn't that bad. Because like
yeah,
let's go back all the way back to 2007. It's like, okay, DJ, it doesn't work, right? Okay, the business fails. You run out of money. You can't sell. You can't. We're what a whole list of reasons, right?
mm,
Economic downturn. What I realized was college would still take my money, right? Like it wasn't like I couldn't go to school.
yeah,
I did end up enrolling in community college. It was like a deal I made with my mom. I said, "Hey, listen, like I don't want to let you guys down. Nobody in our family has ever went to college, so like I'll at least enroll in local community college and like I'll try to go to the business classes." That ended up lasting for like 3 semesters. I wanted to take business finance, and they're like, well, you can't because you don't have the prerequisites. I'm like, that's a $9 word. What's that mean? A hillbilly from Kentucky. And they're like, well, you haven't taken the right classes yet. I'm like, okay, well, what do I need to take? They're like, well, you need accounting. Like,
mm.
okay, that makes sense. And here's the kicker. You need a humanities credit, and the only class offered this semester is history of rock and roll. And I said, timeout. I can't take
History of rock
business
and
finance.
roll.
I'm like, I can't take business finance because I haven't had history of rock and roll. Like, are you shitting me? And so it's like, it was crazy, man. But it all worked out. Like I said, I went on to grow that lawn care business to about 3 million in revenue and then sell it. Don't get excited, guys. It's a lawn care business, not crazy multiples. I didn't retire, and so it all worked out as it's supposed to. There's also another lesson in there I'll share with your audience is that
Mm,
most businesses close because the owner gives up, not because they actually run out of money.
mm,
Most owners, they either burn out or they just decide to change paths, which are totally okay. If you don't want to do something anymore, you're allowed to. You can move. You're not a tree.
Yeah.
But what I find is that oftentimes, man, like if you just stay in the batter's box and keep swinging, eventually you make contact and you get on base.
So just on that point, because there's a great book that's very old now called 3 Feet from Gold, and it,
Yeah, I love that
as you were
book.
talking about that, it just reminds me of that book where a lot of people give up just before they're about to have a breakthrough. And I know in my own career, there's been times when you just, it's everything seems to be stacked against you. But there's something innate that says, no, no, just keep going. Just one more day, one more conversation, one more LinkedIn connection, one more deal, and things will turn. So it's the ability of being able to stay the course, but also having a level of understanding as to what's working, what's not working. There's a dog. There's a dog just popped into the screen.
Oh yeah, edgy.
I love it.
It's my little pit bull. Yeah, man. Hi, buddy. Go lay down.
Love it.
I'm out
Love
here.
it.
I'm out here in my studio, man. I live on a 52-acre farm in Kentucky, and I've got a detached barn. It's got about a 300 square foot finished space. That's my studio, and so this is where I work remotely when I'm not at the office in downtown Louisville. So
Sensational, sensational. I got a border collie, but she's out in the sunroom. Probably
nice.
sound asleep at the moment.
Yeah,
Um,
we got about 4 inches of snow on the ground right now,
oh
so
wow.
she's inside.
Well, it is the middle of winter over there, of course. But it's an interesting thing, isn't it, that people give up just when they're about to have a breakthrough. So I know you do a lot of work with up and coming entrepreneurs and obviously business owners now. And what's the key message that you give people where everything might be against them? They may be running out of finance. They may be running out of customers. They might think that their offer is no longer having the penetration in the marketplace that it has. And it's not a case of a red pill, blue pill, or the special elixir. But what guidance and counsel do you give people based on your own experience just to keep going?
My mantra that I live by is hustle, it's worth it. Because I think that if you hustle for a reason for a season, it'll be worth it. And so for me, I also have just trained myself over the years to know that when things are going sideways, when the fecal matter is hitting the oscillator, you're probably getting really close to the breakthrough. And I love Tony Robbins saying that life happens for you, not to you.
Yeah.
And I try to remind myself of that. But mental toughness is just like physical fitness. It
Mm,
takes time. You have to build it. You have to exercise it. You have to work on it. And and it's the biggest difference that I see between very green, wet behind the ears entrepreneurs and like people that have been in the game for a while, right? For me, I always make this like analogy, and I have this like vision of like General Patton during World War II, right? Where it's like, there's a new private in the foxhole, and like the bullets start whizzing by, and he's freaking out, right? And I just imagine General Patton standing on top of the foxhole, just packing his cigarettes, like, yep, they're shooting at us again, right? And it's like that's like such a clear picture for me to paint for people that it's like you got to get to the General Patton level, man, to where, yeah, at a certain level of success all of it's on fire all of the time.
yeah.
And it's just, can you handle that? And I think it's one of the biggest challenges when people go from being an employee to an entrepreneur, or like you have a sales guy that's doing really, really well. And he's like, I'm going to go out on my own. It's like, hey, man, you'd really only had to manage pipeline and quota. Now you got like 30 more things that you have to manage.
Yeah.
And also like understanding that perfection never arrives. If you
Mm,
guys are listening, you get it. I speak in sound bites, right? So I'm giving you guys lots of little nuggets to write down, but it's like perfection never arrives, and you just have to be okay. And you know, my business partner Dan Martell, like he says, it's like 80% done by someone else is 100% freaking awesome. And
yeah.
so I think that's the challenge. Like when things are rough, when things are tough, like I just always motivate myself, and I'm like, hey man, it didn't beat me today. Let's try it again tomorrow because the breakthrough's coming. And guess what? If the breakthrough doesn't come today, it's just going to come the next day. And if you keep that mindset about yourself, like you're going to be great in life. Like whether you're in sales, whether you're in entrepreneurship or not, like keeping a I'll give you this one, Daniel. If you just show up with a positive mental attitude, you'll beat 95% of people.
Isn't that interesting? That because there's a lot of people out there today, and I guess guess, give credibility to the external noise, whether that be the macroeconomic situation. And we'll talk about things like AI. Oh my God, AI is going to take my role. It's going to desecrate the way that we're doing business, and it's going to make it even harder to get cut through. There's so many things to be concerned about, but it comes down to what you've got control over. And one of the things you do have control over is what's going on between your ears. Um,
Yeah, man.
and I remember Zig Ziglar talking about sound bites. He said, "Was it your attitude and not your aptitude will ultimately determine your altitude?" And that comes
Yep.
down to what your thinking is.
Yeah, man. Stinking thinking. I love that Zig Ziglar. Can't have that stinking thinking around me.
Well, and I mean the other question that pops into my mind now, DJ, is based on your experience, and you mentioned it before when people are sort of moving out from being an employee, maybe going and do their own thing, whether that be running a business, starting a business, buying a business, moving into solopreneurship. Do you think you have to have uh, certain attitudes, certain characteristics? Is there, based on your experience, are there certain characteristics that kind of lend themselves to a person that has the stickability, for want of a better term?
Yeah, I do. And I'll be crystal clear on this point. I don't think entrepreneurship is for everyone. Right? I really don't. However, I think it's one of the keys to freedom. And so I think everyone is born with the key in their pocket. And so, how sad is it that you would live your entire life and not at least get up and walk over to see if it'll unlock the door?
Mm,
It may not. It may not be for you, and that's okay because the majority of people it's not for. However, I think everyone should try it. And this is why I'm such a huge proponent of teaching entrepreneurship at the high school level. I think a big piece of my success, man, is that I was able to fall and skin my knee and fail early in life, right? The 18 to 28-year-old phase, that first decade, I failed a lot.
mm,
I learned a lot, but I didn't have a mortgage. I didn't have a wife. I didn't have kids, right? Like I was able to get that out. And to me, man, it's like you're also just like full of piss and vinegar at that stage too. So like you've got more energy and like more like I'm just gonna run through this brick wall than any other time in your life. And so like I'm a huge proponent of that. I do think there is a certain level of mental toughness that comes with it, and that's I mean that's why I wrote the book The Hunter Head Game.
mm,
That is what that book is all about, man. Is
mm,
are you a passive prey or are you an aggressive predator? And it's like one mindset is victim mentality, why me, poor old soul, right? And like the world is out to get me and I'm reactionary to everything. The other thing is like I'm going to take complete and utter responsibility and control of every situation, whether it's my responsibility or not. I'm
yeah.
going to put myself in that place, and it's going to put me at a different level than the people that stay back on the farm, right?
Mm,
And so it's like you can either go kill big game or you can pick berries, and it's up to you. It is not a book for everyone, and it says that in the very first in the prologue. It's called The Hunter's Utopia, and it says exactly who the book's for and who it's not. And I challenge the non-hunters to stick with me through the book because
mm.
maybe just maybe I'll change your mind and make you want to get off the farm and go for a hunt a time or two.
So, even though you've said then that the book's not for everybody, do you believe that everybody has within them a, I guess, a spark or a flame that they can turn things around? They can be a hunter. They can take responsibility and not be a victim, not be a
Um,
blame.
yeah, Daniel, I would rephrase that to say I don't know that they have it in them, but one of the greatest things about being a human being is that we can set goals. We can set aim and sight onto a future destination that does not exist right now in reality. And we can get up every day and become more, right? Change who we are, dream bigger, increase our skills, become a different person. And by the time we get to that made up place that we envision,
Mm.
We're the person that now can achieve it. So you
Yeah.
may not have it in you right now, right? I don't want to like rah everybody up because like I'm very clear on this. Like you may not have what you need inside of you right
Right
now,
now. Yeah.
but that doesn't mean that you can't become that person that it's going to take to achieve that vision, that higher vision of yourself that you have.
Yeah.
And that's one of the greatest things, man. Like, I had a team member once. We do like annual goal setting, and so like you can only imagine, right? Like if you work for Coach Carroll, what that's like because it's this all the time. And so like I'm all fired up. I'm like, let's do your quarterly goals. Like we're tracking them, 90-day sprints, et cetera, et cetera. And Andy, a guy that works for me, he goes, DJ, I'm just like, I'm not a big goal person. And I said, why? He's like, I just don't see the point.
Yeah.
I said, the point is that you can set the goal. Like, the bear doesn't set a goal, the lion doesn't set a goal, an ant doesn't set a goal. They're all just pre-programmed. They just operate, right?
Yeah.
It's like the three things that like procreate, and it's like humans are different, man. The magic of setting the goals is that we have the capacity to set the goal and then to actually be able to achieve it, and that's the freaking magic, man. That's the magic
Mm.
of life.
And it's interesting as you say that. I was in my head. I'm thinking Jim Rohn, and he talks about the fact that it's not actually the goal; it's the person you become along the way that's the most important thing. That enables you to then be able to take care of the responsibility that comes with the achievement of that goal.
Yeah, man. I'll give you if you're listening to this right now and you're like Jim Rohn, who's it? I'm telling you, it's like it's not. If you go Google Jim Rohn, there's an ESPN broadcaster that's called Jim Rohn. It's not him, right? I've messed around with ChatGPT image creation. I was like, make me a graphic of Jim Rohn, and then I came back and I was like, what? I was like, oh, wrong Jim Rohn. But I'll tell you, one of the biggest hacks, Daniel, is if you have
Darren,
the Darren, sorry, jeez, oh Pete, man, I'm sorry, Darren,
Daniel's your business partner.
sorry, Darren,
I'm happy to be considered in the same echelon as him because I know
yeah,
he's in Australia right now.
right. So the biggest hack that I have learned for Jim Rohn is on the Audible. Like if you guys have Audible subscriptions, right?
Yeah.
There is the ultimate Jim Rohn library. It's like $69, but it's only like one credit, which means it's like $17 or $12 or whatever. And it's amazing. And I love Jim Rohn because he says when you're working in a job, don't ask what am I earning, ask what am I becoming. And that's
Mm.
directly to your point. So
Yeah.
Darren, I apologize.
Love that. Love that. So, let's just talk then about let's talk about the book, The Headhunter Game.
Yeah, man.
And you wrote it for up and well, listen, you can tell the story. What because you've said you've been working on this for was it? Do you say 10 years?
10 years. Yeah, yeah. The manuscript, I've been writing the manuscript was 500 pages. And my editor was like, this book's going to be so expensive to print and produce, like nobody's going to buy it. And I was like, okay, well, we'll whittle it down. So I actually had Tatiana, she from Honey Tree Publishing. She helped me look through the manuscript, and it was because it was almost just like a bunch of journal entries over the years, right? And so she helped me kind of formalize and structure a table of contents. And then in there we kind of like three sub chapters, right? And so then I used that with Claude and Chat GPT along with the 500-page manuscript to edit this thing down into the format that it is. And the reason why we decided, like, I've been asked on other shows, like, why now? Why'd you release it in 2025? And I think it's because I see that the world is really in a dynamic shift right now. And that's not just me. Like you look at guys like Ray Dalio, he says the same thing is happening. And so the byline, which is at the top of the book, it says that the old world rewarded obedience, the new world demands killer instincts.
Yeah.
And so I think we are moving out of this phase where you went to college, you got a job, you stayed at the same company for 30 years, you had a retirement, a pension, et cetera, et cetera. And now we're in a place where, like during COVID, you saw people that had been at a company for 27 years just get waxed, man.
Yeah.
And so I think the millennials, the Gen Zers, now the up and coming Gen Alpha, they're seeing their parents and their grandparents like bought into that dream and then it came tumbling down. And so they're not going to do that.
Yeah.
And I also think that we're moving with artificial intelligence. I think for the first time ever, we're going to become multi a multi-disciplinary species. And so instead of having one job, Tim is an accountant and Tim does accounting 40 hours a week for the rest of his life. Tim's going to be a freelance accountant and he's going to work a ton during tax season, but then he also really enjoys fishing. And so on Thursdays throughout the summer, he's going to go fishing, but he's going to pay for that because he's going to make content while he does it, and he'll get paid by YouTube and brand deals from fishing lure companies, and that'll be a stream of income. And then, his wife may have an Etsy store, and also sells sourdough at the like farmers market. I
Yeah.
think this world of proprietorship, being a proprietor, which is what it used to be a long time ago before the big industrial revolution, I think we're going back to that, man.
Yeah.
And I also think that we're going to move to a place which I'm super excited about from just like my core beliefs is that you're not going to work 40, 50, or like my dad did 70 hours a week anymore. We're going to be to a place where you can get by with 25 hours a week of
Mm.
work for yourself and you'll be comfortable and then you're going to just live, man. Like I'm 37 now and I'm like looking around. I'm like, I may very well be halfway through my life. Holy smokes, right? It's kind of crazy. And it's like, I think some of that's just having kids. It like puts a different perspective on you. But I mean, I wrote this game because, or I wrote the book, The 100 Head Game, because people are just, they've gotten soft. And I think that we live in the best opportunity that humankind has ever had. And so it's a wake up call for some. It's a battle cry for others.
And it's like I can't read this for others as well because it's maybe cuts straight to the core of who they are. Because one
And I'm
question.
okay with that too, man. I really hope. I told my editor that, and she was like, "I don't know, DJ. You're pretty aggressive in some of these chapters. Chapter 10 is my favorite. It's called Throne of Bones, and so it's basically like your bones are like all of the lessons that you learn, like all of the losses over the years. You'll eventually ascend to a place where like you've now done it, right? There's
Mm.
all the bones that you've went through. Like now you get to sit on the throne, and it follows into ascending into apex. And she's like, it's a little aggressive. I was like, good. That's the whole point.
Well, you've got to tell it like it is, and you've got to have a reality check. So there'll be people that obviously read the book and say, "Man, I can't do this because it's I like my life of comfort." Which then begs the question. I love your take on this because in Australia there's a lot of if you give every generation, we want the next generation to have it a little bit easier than us. And when I say easier, not to say we don't want to give them challenges, but we want our kids, for example, to have a better upbringing and maybe access to more information and so forth, and a better life than perhaps we had, and hence my parents had, etc., etc. What do you think about this? Because I think it fits into the hunter head game in terms of resilience and teaching the next generation resilience and how important that is for sustainability, but just being a good human.
Yeah. I don't want my children to live a better life than I have. I want my children to be a better person than I am. And if that is my north star in raising them, it will be a guiding philosophy and principle. And if I do that properly, they by consequence will have a better life than me.
Yeah.
Right? If they become a better person, they will be more giving. They will have more empathy for others. They will be more driven. Right?
Mm.
They will want to achieve more than dad achieved. Um, and in their own right, I don't mean that purely monetarily. Um, for me, resilience is something I talk about in the book. It's huge. I think that I've had several opportunities where I could have given up. You know, after the second season of my podcast, and I didn't renew with the media company that I was signed with, and realized, hey, why is my podcast not in the podcast like Apple Podcast anymore? And they're like, well, you're not with us. We took it down. I'm like, well, it's like two seasons worth of work. Can I have it? It's like, nope. Check page 17, subsection A. Right? It's like we own the rights to it. And then I also can tell you guys about Elite Fitness, which was a fitness center that I bought when I was 25. I bought that, grew it 300% in 18 months, and then lost all of it. And at 27 years old, I had a real estate agent that just completely screwed me over. I wasn't at the level where I knew to have attorneys look at legal documents. Quite frankly, I was moving too fast. I didn't do enough due diligence. I was on the tail end of that full of piss and vinegar spectrum, and I ended up losing a $500,000 worth of real estate in a six-figure business at 27 years old. And I remember, I write about this in the book. I remember laying on the couch in a fetal position. And at the time, she was my girlfriend, but my wife, Victoria, she said, "We're going to be okay. We're going to make it through it. You're going to figure something else out. We just can't give up." And I just remember at that time, I also had a power washing business, the Easy Pro, which I still own to this day. And I said, you know what? I'm not going to do anything if I stay here and just waller and self pity and say,
Yeah.
woe is me, DJ, how stupid are you? Can't believe you lost that bit. It's like, no, 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 no. So what do you do? I actually posted this on my Instagram. It's like, I dropped the E off of emotion and I've been moving ever since. Right. And it's like, I got up off the couch. I went out and I power washed a Rally's drive through that night, made a few $100, came home smelling like, burger grease and French fries. But like, I got up and I kept moving forward. And I think that's one of the stories, like one of the lessons and stories that we can take from nature is that the lion and the gazelle, like they wake up every morning, man, and the gazelle knows he has to run from the lion, and the lion knows he's got to chase the gazelle. He doesn't lay around and be like, I just don't feel like it, right?
Yeah.
That's one of the yin and yangs. While I earlier I said we have the power to set goals and go achieve them, we also have the power to like be in our feelings, right? And I think that is what's happened, and that's why I put the book out because in the last 5 years, especially here in America, man, I just saw this with COVID and everything. It was like we just got soft, man. We got
Mm.
very weak and soft, and sure there is a place for that, but like this country was built by men that seeked greater things, right? And built, and like that's what I love about entrepreneurship. I'm a big proponent of entrepreneurship because entrepreneurs solve all problems, right?
Mm.
The government does not fix the problems, right?
No.
Entrepreneurs fix the problems, right? Like
Yeah.
the government tried to send up rockets. Elon and Bezos sent up rockets and caught them with chopsticks, right? It's like there's different levels to this game.
Well, 100%. And it's almost like, as you're describing that, I'm thinking there are people who are listening today who just don't feel like writing that proposal, don't feel like connecting with that potential customer, don't feel like following up with maybe a customer that tore them a new one last week because they weren't happy with the proposal that was put forward. But it's not about how you feel, it's about what you need to do to move forward. And even if it's just one step, it's progress over perfection. And it's as going back to what Jim Rohn used to say, it's all about the discipline. So if you're waiting for motivation, that'll never happen. But you've got to have the discipline to do what is required and take at least just one step. So it would have been easy for you lying on the couch after having that deal happen to just wallow and I'll just say it respectfully, self pity and say, woe is me, why did this happen to me? Instead, you said, no, no, what am I going to do about it? Which brings me to another point, the power of having somebody in your corner. So you had your wife, then girlfriend, Victoria. The power of, because I love talking about mentoring and the power of proximity
Yeah.
in your journey, and certainly as an entrepreneur, how important has that been to you on your ability to stay on track, take risks, have the backing of people who are there to care for you?
Yeah, man, massive. Like, that it's so played out, but like your network is your net worth, right? It's like um one, if you're a I want to be careful how I frame this. Um if you are an employee and you want to go bet on yourself and start your first business and you have a wife and you have kids and you have responsibilities, be very careful how you go about doing that. Because if you just come home on a Friday afternoon and say, honey, I did it. I couldn't take it anymore. I told that boss where he could put it, and it'll never see the sunlight again. And we're starting a business. Good luck, dude, because your wife is naturally aligned to take care of the cubs, right?
Yeah.
And that now put a ton of risk on her and the family. And so, one of the challenges I see, man, all the time with young entrepreneurs, and again, remember when I say young entrepreneurs, I mean
Yeah.
just within your first 36 months of business, is getting buy-in from your significant other.
Mm.
And it is paramount, man. It is so important because even right now, like we're building out Alley, which is our AI platform. It's like I was at the office till like almost 10 p.m. last night, and when I texted my wife at like 9:45, I was like, "Honey, I'm sorry, I'm just wrapping up. I'm headed home." She's like, "Don't apologize to me. I have these kids, this beautiful home, our safe vehicles to drive, all because you put in the work, right?" And there's that, or there's the yapping of like, why aren't you home for dinner, right? And
Yeah.
so I think that is, you hit the nail on the head, dude. Is super, super paramount. And then on the opposite side of that is your mentors. And so
Mm.
one of the reasons why I dropped out of college was 3 semesters in. Um, I had started looking on YouTube, and I found guys that were like teaching me in 15-minute increments way more than I was learning in my like 3 classes a week, right?
Yeah.
In college. And so I was like, okay. And I came up with this saying that you need knowledge. However, not all knowledge comes from college.
Mm.
And so I think the best way to get information from mentors is to get one to one with them, right? If you can
Yeah.
get one to one coaching, one to one mentorship, and like I'm a huge proponent of coaching. I don't even do one to one coaching, like individual coaching anymore. But it's like if you can get one to one coaching, because the reason why I say that is like people are like, well, he just says get a coach because he's got no. I don't do one to one coaching anymore. You need to get a coach, and if you
Yeah.
can't afford a one to one, then try to find a course. If you can't afford the course, buy the book. If you can't buy the book, watch the YouTube videos.
Yeah.
There are no excuses anymore, man.
Correct.
And it's so powerful because I call it the Lieutenant Dan method. You familiar with Lieutenant Dan from Forrest Gump, right? Like the guy that
Yes.
have any legs, right? So I call this the Lieutenant Dan method. I want to find some guy that is ahead of me and is where I want to go, and I want to say, "Hey, Lieutenant Dan, where'd you blow your legs off? Because I don't want to step there, right? And like cut back my learning curve. It's one of the easiest ways. It's ignorance tax, right? Like you're going to pay for it one of two ways. You're either going to pay for it with your time or with your money. I can't get more time. I can always go make more money.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. No, I love that. Now, can we sort of take all of this and I want to apply it to sales because there's a framework that you have created. Do you call it the AAA or is it just Access Attention AI framework?
Yeah, so the Access Attention AI framework is basically the three technological waves that have hit small business since the turn of the millennia. Right, access was the internet that democratized the access to information. Attention is social media. It allowed small business owners and entrepreneurs to speak directly to the customer like they've never had the capacity to do. And now we have the advent of artificial intelligence, and that is giving us massive lift, meaning
Mm.
that I think you're going to start looking at new metrics called revenue per head count
Okay.
because I think you're going to be able to do a lot more in businesses. I'll break this down for sales related specifically. How long does it take a salesperson to get off of a sales call, collect their thoughts, look at their shorthand notes, and then punch out a summary email, what I call a call recap email, right? If
Yeah.
you throw Fathom or Otter or whatever you want, one of these AI note takers in there, copy the transcript when you get off the call, go to ChatGPT, say, I need a call recap email for this call I just had, paste in the transcript, bloop, pull it out, boom, you're done. It's
Yeah.
literally like seconds, right? Like, and like you can go tell ChatGPT to do it, go take a restroom break. By the time you come back, like the email's written, right? Now, I do teach this 10-80-10 framework, which is 10% human, 80% robot, 10% human. So again, 10% on the front side, give it to the bot, tell it what you need done.
Yeah.
Let the robot do the thing. You gotta overview. Don't just copy and paste it in.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a piece that, like, on the artificial intelligence side, if we're working backwards to their framework, the attention piece, social media. If you're a salesperson and you're not working on your personal brand, I'm not talking about the company's Instagram account. The company said you
Yeah.
personally, you're missing out on one of the biggest opportunities that we've ever had in business. And then it doesn't happen too often anymore, Darren. But if you're not online, if you're not using the internet, like holy smokes, right? It's just always funny, man, because it's like if you look how fast the technology has been adopted, it took a website browser 8 years to reach 700 million users. It took Facebook 4 years to reach 700 million users. ChatGPT did it in 24 months. Okay. So
Mm.
like the adoption cycle's a lot faster.
Yeah.
And I partially think because when the internet came around, it's like the T-Rex came to the village, ate a couple little children, and they're like, what was that? Right. The second time it happened, which was social media, it came to the village and they're like, oh, there's that thing again. Now it's happening and like people have grown up with technology
Yeah.
and everybody's like, run. Right. It's like they know what's happening. Like they see it, they're adopting to it. So I think it's a wild time, man. The second half of this decade is going to be a crazy time for business and for the world as a whole.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I agree. So because one of the things I wanted to touch on with this is from a selling perspective, but also from a small business's perspective, entrepreneurship as well, is customers now, prospective customers they've got the same access now to the information that we have. So you're mentioning there the importance of your personal brand and not just relying on your company brand, right? So in the corporate space that I often do work in, I'm saying to sellers in that particular space that you need to maintain a really strong personal brand and be valuable to the marketplace, because when people are looking at purchasing a product, doing some research, they're going to be looking and doing research on you to the point where they're probably going to be doing a lot of decision making before they even interact with you on a human level. So get really clear on what your personal brand is going to look like, what you want to stand for, and what sort of messaging you're putting out there on a regular basis. So be conscious of don't say jumping on Donald Trump's social platforms and saying and just going a complete diatribe, and then on the next conversation saying, "Oh, well, I'm a very ethical person," and etc. etc. So be very clear about that. In the work that you do, how important is that in terms of personal branding, particularly in a world where customers are now so more lot more access to information in a quicker time frame?
Yeah, I think being valuable is important, but it's also being distinct, right? Standing out is probably more important. Um, there's a reason why the entertainers have the largest followings online. Now, again, I'm not telling you to go be the jester of the court, but I think that you have to have a charismatic personality. I literally had coffee with a guy this morning that reached out to me through social, and when I met with him, he's like, "Dude, I've been following you for years." He's like, "It's just your energy, man. I just like you're just like somebody I wanted to like meet and be around." And it's like, cool. Like you can Jim Rohn used to talk about this all the time, right? It's like attract the
Mm,
business, attract the clients, attract the people to you. And that's like the highest level because, like, sure, there's like the hunted, the hunter, and then there's like the attractors, right? Like, where
yeah,
it's like you don't have like Tony Robbins is an attractor. Like, he's not getting on the phone and making cold calls anymore, right? Like, he just opens up his emails and it's like, tons of opportunities.
yeah,
And I think that is because he's very distinct. It's that you could argue that there are probably other people that have brought way more value to the marketplace, right? There is
mm,
probably somebody out there that has brought more value, but Tony Robbins is very distinct, right? There's one Tony Robbins. There was
mm,
one Jim Rohn, and I think that's what makes you stand out. And I think that's like, to me, I would have them focus more on like what makes you different more than like, well, I provide a lot of value to the marketplace. My LinkedIn content is grammatically correct, and it's just like get out of here, man. And I also think that it's okay. How do I want to frame this? I think it's okay for you to draw lines in the sand. Now, if you're a salesperson, probably check with HR before you draw that line in the sand. But I do think that that is a way that you can create raving fans, right?
yeah,
Like one of my contrarian thoughts and beliefs and pieces of content, one of my what I call content buckets, is that I think college is a scam.
yep,
Right, it's very contrarian, and like people are like, oh, they want to argue about it. It's like, but that's my belief, right? And so, like, sure, probably pushes away like the triple MBA PhD client that I could attract to me. Um, but the dude that's running the $50 million a year company that was a college dropout or never went to school is like, Coach Carroll's my man, right? And so it's like that's where I think it's okay. And again, it's like you don't. I think you stay away from religion, you stay away from politics. I've done some opinionated pieces of content before that were politically colored and have lost clients from it.
yeah,
I think you have to get to there are also levels, right, where you can get to a level where you're like, I don't care, take your money and go somewhere else. I got plenty of other customers that align with me. But you also ultimately have to know, like, what are you gonna do? Here's what most people do, Darren. Um, they're afraid to put themselves out there because they're still living in high school. It's like,
Yeah.
well, yeah, but Darren, what were those other people gonna say, right? What will they think? Like when my friends see my content, what are they going to think about me? Are they going to leave mean comments? And I'll tell you, there's this cycle that I've seen over a decade of being online, which is like everybody cheers for you, you gain momentum, then they try to tear you down, and then you like are like, oh wow, the dude's actually making it. Well, and then they just shut up, right? Like they
Yeah.
they just watch from afar. So
I always knew you're going to be successful.
yeah, right. Yeah, that I remember that guy. I remember when. And you also have to remember, man. I think people they distort reality when it's online. And
Mm.
what do I mean by that? I mean that like I've had business owners where I'm like, just make content, make content, make content. They make content. They're like, DJ, I got 200 views. I'm like, yeah, like if I put you on stage in front of 200 people, you would piss your pants, right? It's like, but because you got 200 views on Instagram, it doesn't matter. Those magically aren't real people anymore.
Yeah, yeah.
It's crazy. So I think you got to make sure that you keep yourself grounded in that. But yeah, man, I think a personal brand. Actually, oddly enough, I just shared a post yesterday on Facebook. I posted this 10 years ago. It was back in 2016. I said your personal brand is your second biggest asset. Your first being your time, right? And so I said, there's a lot of people talking about building a brand these days. Don't forget who put you on game 10 years ago. So
Wow. So looking forward, I know you talk a lot about AI in the real world, and you've just mentioned before the 10-80-10 approach. Um and it's almost like asking the question of Nostradamus, what is the future going to look like? And I do listen to Dan Martell actually in talking to how to build AI and integrate AI into the business, and he's basically saying that literally every person in his business, they need to be using AI for the majority of their role day to day, right?
yeah.
How do you see AI? Because I talk to a lot of sales leaders, a lot of entrepreneurs that they are talking to people where there might be some concern around AI taking roles, demarginalize people within organizations. So there's an element of fear with that. How do you look at AI in the work that you do in the entrepreneurship world and the businesses you've got, in the consulting, the coaching that you do? Are you looking forward as a game changer, or is there some things we need to be still a little bit mindful of?
Um, I certainly am in the realm of it's a force multiplier. Um, sure, we can go all the way to the end of the road, and it's like the robots are going to take over. But like at that point, it's like, do you know how to grow food? And do you have bullets? Right? It's like that doesn't matter. We got bigger problems at that point. Who cares what the S&P is at, right? But if we come into the near term, it was funny. I was in Florida a couple months ago, and I got asked to speak at a conference, and there was a kid there from Berkeley. He had an AI company, and he was going. I mean, you could tell he was from the valley because like the guys from the valley, they think they got a crystal ball and they know everything that's going to happen, right? And so he's going on and on and on and on and about where we're going to be at in 10 years. And then they came to me and they're like, DJ, what do you think? And I'm like, I don't think anybody has a flipping clue where we're going to be at in 10 years, man. Right? Like, and I'm just like, that's just me. I'm going to shoot it to you straight. I'm not going to blow smoke. I think in the next 18 to 24 months, you're going to see a absolute ton of disruption. We literally just signed a new client today. It's an independent insurance agency in Florida. They got 18 producers. Allie, which is our AI platform, she's going to start answering the phones for them. We're doing a full custom build out for them to like call routing, customer questionnaires. I think
Mm,
I think if you're a front desk receptionist, you should be cleaning up your resume right now. I,
yeah,
I personally don't think AI should replace people. It should replace jobs, right?
yeah.
Because most people in an organization have multiple jobs, and so I think that's going to happen. But I also will tell your listeners that if you hear anybody call themselves an AI expert, and they're not in Silicon Valley working for Meta for one of those $100 million pay packages, they're not an AI expert. They just like updated their LinkedIn profile to say it, and they probably deleted social media expert and put AI expert, right?
Yeah, expert.
And so like I'm very 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 particular that I only speak from a place of experience, right? Like I only want to share things that I've done, things that I've experienced, because I think it's the best advice. And maybe this just comes from being a coach, Darren, that
Mm,
I take a lot of responsibility when I open my mouth, because if you tell something wrong, like if you tell somebody something wrong and they implement that advice and it costs them their business, ultimately
yeah.
you were responsible for that, right? I think
Yeah,
there's a lot of
absolutely.
online coaches that don't take that level of responsibility with it. Um, but I do see displacement. I do see, changes. But I mean, dude, that happened with social media, not to this extent. It happened with the
Mm,
internet, not to this extent. It happened near the Industrial Revolution, which is probably going to be the closest thing that we could map to what this thing does. And I don't want to be fearful, but like the scariest part is there is a bit of a black box to this thing where like even the guys that are building it are like, I don't really know how it works, right? Like, and it's like great. That'll make me feel great when I go to sleep at night. And then I saw a conference earlier this year. It was like the number, I don't know, like number 7 guy at Anthropic, and he was like, there is a 20% chance that AI eventually just wipes the face of the earth of human beings. And
yeah.
the guy on the panel was like, so what are you doing about it? He was like, I bought 100 acres of land in the middle of America. Like, it's like, wow, okay. And you're one of the top engineering guys. So I don't know, man. Who knows where this thing will go? There also could just be massive amounts of regulation that come in and ratchet it down. And then everything's nothing more than a glorified chatbot. Who knows? Social media ran pretty crazy for a long time, right? Like the targeting you used to be able to do with ads, like all of the wild stuff you could do on Facebook, like
Yeah.
they've had to roll a lot of that back. And so like maybe we go that way, but ultimately, dude, I don't know. I don't think anybody else does either.
I love that answer. And I wanted to sort of bring this back to something you said earlier in the conversation. That is, you mentioned the word proprietor. And if you go back to before the Industrial Revolution, a lot of the, I guess, expertise sat with the proprietor of the local bakery, the local shoe store, the local chemist, the doctor, and so forth. So I actually think that we're going to almost go full circle where people are going to crave that human to human connection. And if you can be that and that becomes the differentiator with all the technologies available, if you can still have a connection with another human being, that is going to be the difference.
I'll put an asterisk on that, because what happens when your interaction with AI is so good that you can't distinguish it between a human interaction and AI,
Yeah.
right? And when people tell me, "Oh, DJ, that's a ways away." No, it's not. I've got a client in Colorado. Ali answers the phone for his business. Literally, he's in the insurance space, and we had a 6.5 minute phone call. A guy calls in, shares that his brother passed away while he was out of town. His bank account got hacked. He can't afford to pay his premium. He's like, I don't know if I should just let my insurance lapse or if I should go to minimum coverage. Allie's like, don't let it lapse. That's going to actually cost you more in the long term. We'll get you downgraded. Let me get your information. 6.5 minutes back and forth. We get to the end of the call. Darren, the guy tells my AI, he goes, Allie, thank you so much for being a good listener. I'm so sorry for just dumping all of that on you. She says, hey, no problem. That's what I'm here for. If you ever need somebody to talk to, call me back. He's like, thanks so much, right? He had no idea he was talking to AI. No idea. And so, like, that's what I always love, because what I normally see is like these grizzly, like, sales guys that have been in the game for 40 years. Like, you don't get it, DJ. AI can't sell like I can. I'm like, yeah, it's not in production yet, but I could give you the phone number to Allie's outbound, right? To where she's actually tuned up with a lot of Coach Carroll content. And I mean, it's good, man. Like, she goes, hey, should I send you the link so we can get started? And you're like, I don't know. I need to think about it. Like, cool, totally understand. Let's zoom out for a second at a 30,000 foot view. Do you think if I could help you get one extra plumbing job a week, that would pay for myself because I'm only $197 a month?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, well, maybe. Fantastic. Why don't we try it? I've got a 30-day money. Like, I mean, she's good, man. And so, like, it's coming. I don't think, you know, I, be careful. And this goes for any business in any market. Be careful getting so involved with your ego that you think you can't be replaced, right? It's been the downfall of a lot of people.
I agree. I agree. I agree. But and everything we're talking about here is has to have the underlying foundation of ethics, right? Because
Oh, yeah.
in sales, a lot of people when they think about sales, they for whatever reason think about unethical behavior, door-to-door salespeople, and all that sort of stuff. So everything we're talking about has to be done with ethics.
What do you mean? What do you mean for some reason? Because there's a lot of unethical salespeople. That's why they think about it.
Well, I mean, but my frame of reference, everything that I've ever done in sales is always done from a position of integrity, right? So if that means,
Because you're a good person.
you know, it's
That's not to say that every salesperson is a good person.
true,
Like,
true, true. I get that. I get that. Mate, hey, this has been a great conversation.
yeah,
For
man.
people who want to learn more about you and what you do and connect with you, where's the best place for them to do that?
Yeah, man. Anywhere online, hashtag Coach Carroll, two R's, two L's. You can find me on all the social platforms. You go to coachcarroll.com, ton of free resources over there. You can even get the Phenomenal Phone Calls book I mentioned. It's free plus shipping. It's out on Audible as well. And I will tell you one last thing on that ethics thing, because I think the word safety and trust are going to become paramount in the next 36 to 60 months with this AI stuff. Because you've already heard of the young kid that unalived himself, the other guy over in Europe that did it because the AI told him to. I think
Yeah,
it's a couple more cases of that. That's when you're going to start seeing some regulations come
yeah,
down the pipeline, or a massive breach of some sort, right? We'll save quantum computing for the next time I come back and talk to you. But yeah, man, this has been blast. I've had have fun as always. These things go by way too fast. So would encourage your listeners, if you guys haven't, leave Darren a like and a share and a thumbs up and a review. It'll help him get more in front of more people. And if you enjoyed the podcast, drop a little comment. We'd love to see them. But can't thank you enough, Darren, for having me on, man.
DJ, been an absolute pleasure, mate, and all the best as you continue to dominate in the markets that you operate, mate. So thanks again for being a guest on the podcast.
Absolutely, man. Hustle, it's worth it.
Awesome, love it.